Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be changing spark plugs on my 2018 Indian Scout 60. This should be the same procedure for any Scout model, but we are using the NGK spark plug. That's the model number there, but we're going to go ahead and get this started.
You think you know me?
Christopher David Lawson of NEPA. Go ahead and pull your seat off so you can get to the bolts for the tank. Alright, the next step, you're going to want to take a socket, it's a 1/2 inch, and take your bolts out that hold your tank on. Go ahead and get those off and out of the way. Alright, the next thing you're going to want to do, and I find this make it a little bit easier to get to the fuel line, you're going to want to take a 3/6 inch Allen wrench and pull your thermostat cover off. That makes it a lot easier to get to the fuel line. Go ahead and get this thermostat cover off. Like I said, this is just a step I like to do. It gives you a little bit more room to get in and pull the fuel line off. And be very careful when you get to the fuel line, because I've heard of many people breaking these by not doing it the right way and not taking their time and being patient with it. And while you're at it, before we lift the tank up, now that I got the bolts out of the way and then I got the thermostat cover out of the way, make sure you go ahead and pull these 2 vent hoses that are connected at the back of the tank over your fuse relay off, and then you'll be able to lift your tank up. And this makes it a little bit easier. I've got a 2x4 that I've got laying around. I like to pull the tank back just a little bit, get a little room, and put that piece of 2x4 in there. Now you can get in, there's a fuel line connector, a fuel pump connector, excuse me, and then you got your fuel line here. You should be able to get your hand in there easily. This makes it a lot easier when you're working to do this job by yourself. All right, this next step is going to be to pull the fuel pump harness there. All right, now that I have the harness unplugged from the fuel pump, next thing you're going to do is pull the fuel line. Be very careful with this, and of course, put as many rags as you can fit in there to soak up the little bit of gas that comes out. It's probably easier to do this if you don't have a full tank too. After this, you should be able to lift the tank right off. All right, be careful when you're doing this. There's 2 green tabs on either side of the fuel line that you have to squeeze to pull off there. But that's why it's pretty difficult, and it's actually plastic, so you can break it really easily. But a little bit of fuel comes out, and that's about it. Now we're going to go ahead and take the tank off. What you're going to want to do is you lift up on this end and pull it back a little bit, and just lift up very gently. It's going to be heavy if you've got fuel in it, but make sure you get your fuel line out from here too. It kind of gets jammed in there, but you're just going to have to feed that through a little bit like this. Make sure you don't break your connection, otherwise you're going to be screwed. But we'll go ahead and feed that right through, and we'll pull the tank off. All right, as you can see here, I have an aftermarket intake, so I've already had this tank off before. I'm probably going to go ahead and pull this air intake off now. If you still have the factory air intake, you're going to have a lot more work to do to get the spark plugs out, as the factory air intake actually takes up this whole space, and it's hard to get off the throttle body. As you can see, here's one of the coils here with a spark plug in it, and then up front here is where the other coil is with the spark plug. All right, you're going to take a 5/16 inch wrench, and you're going to have to pull the bolt out for the coil. Go ahead and pull those out. I got that one loosened up already, and I got this one loosened up already. Very careful you don't break the plastic on the harness. There, unplug that one. Coil slides right out. There's your coil for the back cylinder. We'll go ahead and set that aside, and then we'll go ahead and do the one for the front cylinder. As you can see, the spark plug is way down in the cylinder, so you're going to have to make sure you have a long extension to get down in there. Front one's going to be a little bit more work to get to because of the angle of where it's at. Got the back plug out. Doesn't look too bad. These plugs have about 18,000 miles on them. It's the same NGK plug that I'm putting back in it. Once I get the front one out. Hey guys, the front cylinder is a little bit harder to get that spark plug out of, but what I did is I just used a couple of different extensions and a spacer. Just put them in one section at a time, and then get it in there and turn it, and it's a lot easier to get it out. It seems like a lot of work, but it's just think you're saving yourself a lot of money if you do this on your own. Alright, now that I got the plugs in, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the coils very carefully. Get those slid back on there. And of course, make sure you get it plugged in afterwards and you get that screwed down, and do the same thing for the front. Next thing is going to be to put your air intake on. Now is a good time to get an aftermarket one, because you're not going to want to put that other one back on there. And I'll tell you, the stock one, like I said before, was a real pain in the ass to get off. Alright, we're going to put the gas tank back on. Now we got to get the fuel line fed back through there again, which is still leaking a little bit of gas. Just have to be careful. Like I said, you got to do a lot of cleanup on this job before you start the engine up. Okay, the tank's back on. I got the fuel pump, fuel line plugged back in. I got the fuel pump connector plugged back in. Now all I got to do is put the hose, connect the hoses again, put the 4 bolts back in, put the cover in, and we'll go ahead and give it a start and see if we did it the right way. There you have it, folks. I didn't have any leaks or anything, so I got it back together okay. It's still been running. I'm letting it get up to temperatures, check for any leaks or anything, but it seems to be good for another 16,000 miles or so. I actually have about 18,000 miles on it. They suggest 16,000 miles for a spark plug change on the Scouts. But thanks for checking this video out. I should have some more install videos and some ride videos coming up over the next few weeks. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I was able to help you out and you can save a few bucks and do your own spark plug change. But like I said, go ahead and click the like and subscribe. Bye for now.